Never mind. I had just made a perfect three-point shot. Swish. Nothing but net. It was beautiful, and so was he. He was tall, which was good, since I was 5'8" already. I would only grow 1 more inch, but add heels with that, and I could stand close to 6 feet. Back to Ryan. He had to be at least 6 feet too, with light brown hair that glistened in the sun, and he was perfectly tan, with bright white teeth. Dental hygiene is a must. But it was his eyes that did it for me. They were green, but not any green. They were bright, like the first buds of spring.
"Nice shot,"
he called out as he was getting into his little sporty-looking red car. The red sports car only added to his beautifulness. Why, oh why, did his parents have to have kids so early? It's not like they were old. In fact, Kay and Guy looked too young and beautiful to have kids that old. The family was genetically blessed, but mystery shrouded them. Guy seemed to travel a lot, and as the years passed, government people would come to our house and interview us about him. They asked my parents things like, "Have you noticed any strange activity? Does he make a lot of large purchases? How much contact do you have with them?" My guess was that Mr. Carter was a CIA agent. I thought it was a pretty educated guess, too. Once, my parents had them over for dinner, and my dad offhandedly mentioned a news report about waterboarding. I noticed that Mr. Carter turned a tad red, pulled on his collar, and cleared his throat. He also changed the subject really quick. All he would ever say about his job was that he worked for the Department of Defense. Yeah, right. I'd seen every Jack Ryan movie with my dad. No matter. I wasn't interested in the spy next door. I was only upset with him for not waiting a bit longer to start a family, because I knew in my teenage heart that Ryan and I were meant to be together. It became even more apparent when we found out that he had recently graduated from the University of Southern California with his accounting degree, and he was getting ready to take his state board exams to become a CPA. It was like fate. You see, my dad owned a large accounting firm, and guess where Ryan was going to be working? You're right, Jensen Accounting. This made me love Jeffrey Jensen even more. I suddenly became very interested in going into work with my dad whenever possible. Of course, my dad thought this was terrific. He had not only wanted me to be a star basketball player like him, but he was hoping that, someday, I would love numbers as much as him, too. He used to point to the sign outside his office and say,
"Someday, baby girl, that will say Jensen and Jensen Accounting."
I always promised him I would never change my last name, and he would always be the #1 man in my life. It was a stupid promise to make. Fast forward a few years. At 17, I was past that awkward stage, and my chest had grown to the perfect C-cup. Not too big, but still ample and perky. I looked more like a woman than a kid. My dad would always say I looked too old for his liking. I was the starting forward and all-star for my high school team. Life was just about perfect, or at least it was for like 2 minutes. My unrequited crush on Ryan was as strong as ever, though I knew he only saw me as a kid, and I knew I was a kid. I knew I would never realize my dream of becoming Mrs. Jensen Carter. For Ryan, I would at least hyphenate. So I had a boyfriend, Chance Wallace. He was gorgeous and tall. He played basketball, too, but he was nothing compared to Ryan. Even though I knew it was hopeless, I would daydream that when I turned 18 and legal, Ryan would magically see me as a woman and discover that I was perfect for him. My dreams ended up being crushed that summer before my senior year. First, Chance broke up with me. I guess I accidentally called him Ryan one too many times. He kept asking who Ryan was, but I could never say. I tried to play it off like he reminded me of Ryan Reynolds, which was sort of true, but he didn't buy it. The only person who knew about my Ryan obsession was Chrissy, and I didn't even really talk to her about it anymore because she, too, realized how far-fetched it was. Besides, she thought I was crazy for not being in love with Chance. By the way, Chance and Chrissy, let's just say there is another story there. But first we have to discuss why my whole world came crashing down in a matter of mere months. So, the summer before your senior year.